All right, I've got 6:30. Let's go ahead and call the hearing to combine Archer Edition lots 1 and 2 to order. Time is 6:30 p.m. The Open Meetings Act. Well, let's do a roll call first.
Scott McCorney.
Here.
Jeremy Hansen.
Here.
Jason Weesey.
Here.
Travis Kramer.
Here.
Paul Kraus.
Here. Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. We have a review. This is for review of the recommendation from the Planning Commission to combine Archer Edition lots 1 and 2. Do you want to say anything, Charlie, or do we have any other public input? No. Basically just making it easier on you for any future transactions.
Only I mentioned the planning commission reviewed this and approved it with very little discussion. No, right now. We have a lot. We obviously.
I don't see it changing anything really. I mean, it's not like somebody's gonna put a house on there now, so. No. Well, let's give one more minute for somebody to walk in the door. I hate to rush these too fast. I like getting out of here early, but. But I could just see.
I'm not sure what anybody could say.
Yeah. I just worry that I close one of these hearings in 1 minute and then somebody will be rushing in the door.
What was complaint, Charlie? If you'd like me to.
I know we did knock me out. I know where you live.
Let's need more to adjourn.
Yeah, I'd say we're ready. I don't see anybody coming rushing up, so
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn the hearing on the lot combining of Archer Edition lots 1 and 2. If there's no further comment, let's vote on that motion.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Jason Weesey.
Aye.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McCorney.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Let's go ahead and open our hearing for variance request for 315 North 8th Street. Let's call the hearing to order.
That should read 330.
330 North 8th. Who filled out the application? If that's what's on the application, 315.
I think it has Kevin Schutz's signature.
Oh, okay, that's your address, okay. All right, so we'll need to make sure that we note that it's 330. Correct, is that what you said? 330 North 8th. Okay, so let's call the hearing to order for a variance request at 330 North 8th Street. Now let's do a roll call.
Scott McCorney.
Here.
Jeremy Hansen.
Here.
Jason Weesey.
Here.
Travis Kramer.
Here.
Paul Kraus.
Here. From the notes I'm reading, it's a slope issue. To get that in there, you just need to be closer to the high side, the north side. Yep. Did anybody have any questions for Kevin? And did you talk to your neighbor on the north of that lot?
Scott owns my neighbor, Scott Abbott owns it.
Okay,
He just wants to see something built.
yeah.
That was the short version of the conversation of the planning commission, same thing. It makes sense to move it, but it's still gonna put on the lot. And we would like to see something.
Yeah.
Like what is the standard setback for that? What's the difference that we're going for this variance?
It's
4 feet, is that what it is?
16 is.
16.
16 is what it would.
So 5 feet,
Multi-family
So it's fine.
yeah.
is 16. And I believe I'm 8.
It says 11, I think.
And I think it's a percentage, how you get to that 60%, I think. Right on the code.
Yeah. And is there parking on that street, on that side of the street? I don't, I don't remember if parking's allowed. I mean, this is off topic.
Yeah, no, there's no, it doesn't say anything about parking on that side.
No. But it looks like you're gonna have a driveway for them to park on, so that'll be,
And something, plan on putting a rock
yeah.
place in the back in the alley, so there's more off street. There's a light pole in the middle of the lot in the back.
Yeah, that's handy, isn't it? Have you contacted OPBD and asked them if they can move it?
Yeah, but almost $7,000.
Oh, that's all on you, huh?
Yeah.
No,
Even though it's in the middle
of a lot,
of the lot.
of a single lot.
Entrance.
And that's a single lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of odd that they would do that to you. Well, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the hearing.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Kate, we have a motion and a second to adjourn the hearing for a variance at 330 North 8th Street. If there's no further comment or discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Jason Weasey.
Aye.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McCorney.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Let's go ahead and open our regular meeting for Monday, May 15th, 2023. Call the meeting to order with a roll call.
Scott McCorney.
Here.
Jeremy Hansen.
Here.
Jason Weasey.
Here.
Travis Kramer.
Here.
Paul Kraus.
Here. Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. Is there any conflict in the consent agenda? Everybody was here last meeting. Anybody see anything they had questions about or wants to consider separate?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the consent agenda as presented. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Jason Weasey.
Aye.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McCorney.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Approval of the minutes from the April 17th, 2023 regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented from the April 17th, 2023 board meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of the regular board meeting minutes from April 17th, 2023. There's no further discussion. Let's vote on that motion.
Jason Weasey,
Aye.
Travis Kramer,
Aye.
Scott McCorney,
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen,
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. New business, item A. Discussion and possible approval of combining Archer addition lots 1 and 2.
Make a motion for the approval of combining lots 1 and 2 in the Archer addition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the combining of Archer addition lots 1 and 2. There's no further discussion. Let's vote on that motion.
Travis Kramer,
Aye.
Scott McCorney,
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen,
Aye.
Jason Weasey,
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Item B, discussion and possible approval of a request for variance at 315 North 8th Street, 330 North 8th Street.
I'll make a motion for approval of request for variance at 330 North 8th Street.
Second that motion.
And you'll make sure everything gets changed in the paper trail. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of a request for variance at 330 North 8th Street. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Scott McCorney,
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen,
Aye.
Jason Weasey,
Aye.
Travis Kramer,
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
All right. Item C, you're Michaela?
I am. Hi, I'm Michaela Valentine. I am the Government Affairs Manager for a public power district. And I wanted to come out and introduce myself and make sure that you all knew that there is a division within OPPD that exists to serve you and to make sure that your questions get answered. And myself and my colleague Dustin Marvel make up the Government Affairs Division. So if you were to get any questions about OPPD or electrical service from your constituents, you could give myself or my partner Dustin a call and we would be able to assist you with that. So I gave Kate business cards for all of you that have my cell phone number on it. If there's anything that you should ever need, you can give me a call. That service is available for all of our appointed and elected officials in OPPD service territory, which is a 13 county territory. So we have over 250 elected and appointed officials that 2 of us serve. So we won't be at every meeting, but if you have an issue, you can always call us and we'll be responsive to you.
Okay.
Any questions?
What can we do to be supportive of a community member who has a light pole in the back of their?
Yeah, I hope I didn't put my foot in my mouth there.
I can certainly look into it. I know there's.
Well, he said $7,000. I don't know who he contacted, but if you could follow up with that, Kate, with Kevin and with her, that would be great. Anything we can do to help because
And see if there's anything we can.
it was an existing lot. They tore down the structure. He's building a new structure in there. It's going to help our community. So anything we can do to help.
Sure. I'll definitely look into that. That can be the first issue.
I appreciate it. I wish you would have stayed. As I saw you were coming, I was like, oh, this is going to be our chance.
But I also.
He's in construction, so I'm assuming he probably has made the right contacts with people, but if there's anything we could do to help support that.
I can certainly run it down.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
All right, well, thanks for coming. Thanks for introducing yourself. All right, item D, discussion and possible approval of 4 to 5 sites to install a pedestal or building sign granted by the Washington County Historical Association. We've got some survey results back. And did you get a hold of?
I couldn't get a hold of her, but I went through the minutes and so basically the grant funding is $3,450, and then last May we approved like an extra donation of $3,000, not to exceed $3,550 So, whatever we choose to do, pedestal signs or whatever, is basically the difference would be covered within that 3550. We approved as a donation, so.
So I think we've still got a ways to go, even after we identify sites, we still have to contact property owners and make sure they're okay with either a pedestal or a building sign, but I think what we could do is, looking at the survey results that we've got, we can pick 5 people to contact. And 5 or 6, let's say that if we want to put up 5 plaques or pedestals. Let's vote on 6 that we want to contact and see if they're interested. That would be pretty easy by the survey results, I think.
Oh, sorry. You're right.
Survey results are on page 31. If anybody's looking for those.
So I know Marshall Nursery Building would be probably the top.
That was
one, right?
Yeah, that was no surprise to me that was
Yeah, so that'll be a good one.
the fairgrounds. That would probably be a good one to get access to. I don't think they would have complaints about people driving down there and looking at a marker. The original bank building, I thought that was Third and Eagle.
It did.
So 2 of those are kind of the same thing.
I think you could put, all those under the one.
So, yeah. Maybe we need to pick 6 or 7 off of this list if 2 of them are going to get combined.
Do we know who the people were that picked these? It was just a random.
This was
survey?
survey results that sent out, and a lot of them were done from the over 60 center.
Gotcha.
So,
Let's say, is there a committee that wants to just propose and tell us?
There's some individuals I think that would be interested in that.
Do we want to just give them the authority to kind of come up with the list for us, or fine tune it, or
yeah,
I don't know, I'm just.
the committee that you're talking about would be people from the over 60 center that we've noticed. Is that
Some, but then there's another lady who's really invested in,
Okay.
well, her and her brother in like Arlington history. They just know a lot. I think she had put a lot of the other options down there. I think she just knows a lot about, I don't know, the different things. I think between her brother, and I don't know, some other people I have in mind.
I have no problems with running it by more people. I don't think we're in a huge hurry. I think she wants to get something slated by the end of the year so that we can get the funds used. If we need to do it before our next meeting, are you okay with this committee making decisions and forwarding them to? Is that okay with you, Jason? Anyway.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's.
I mean, I guess I don't, what do they want to mark the senior center building for? Do they know the history of it? Like, what are we gonna put on these?
So
plaques? That's my.
what she's doing is she's trying to create a database where she can have scan code IDs
Yep.
and make it so that people can come to the historical museum and find places of interest to go.
No, I know, I was there with the meetings, but like, she also talked about having like a history on these plaques and stuff like that.
And she said they would research that.
Gotcha,
The museum will research and come up with
gotcha.
a description to put on the plaques or pictures if they have it.
Because I tend to agree with the person whose comments on here. Some of these buildings, you really want to put a plaque on it when the building might not even be there 2 years from now.
Yeah.
That's like,
Well, then let's run it. Let's try and get this committee to look at what we've got. And see if we can get an answer in a couple weeks, and we'll get a hold of Julie. And see how soon, if she needs it before our next meeting, then maybe we'll we'll let this committee move forward. This is something we can always add to. If we don't get all the right ones the first time,
Yeah.
it sounds like she's gonna keep looking for grant money and keep trying to get markers for.
But like, I don't even, you probably know where that is. I don't even know where that one is.
I think that
Is
is,
that like where Casey's was or the one next to Casey's or that's the one that's down here?
I think it's the one that's down here across from the Eagle Auto.
Okay. So I mean, like when we.
Motley's, does that ring a bell in any of your discussions with anybody?
Motley's 66.
I think that was where the old, is that where the old liquor store used to be, right across from?
That could be too. That was a gas station before it was an arcade and before it was a liquor store.
And I was,
Which there's nothing.
I just remember when we talked to her, it was like more of like, I could see the Marshall Nursery building because it has a historical.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
stuff like that, but not some of these places that it's just a building that's falling in, you know,
Mhm.
that's my concern. Cause I don't think putting a sign next to it or on it's gonna make some of these owners. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and some of these are private property now, and I can see some of these owners saying, no,
No,
I don't really want a pedestal for everybody to come stop in front of my house and,
right.
or my building, so. Obviously, we need to get input, and yeah, it would be nice if there was places that are still have something to look at.
Yeah.
Well, let's have the committee try and come up with 6 places, and then we'll see how fast Julie needs an answer.
Mhm.
If she needs one before our next meeting, maybe we can start asking for permission and tell people what we're up to.
Okay.
So. All right. Item E, streets. Do we have JEO on Zoom?
I don't
There,
think, I haven't seen him yet. I don't know. And there's nobody in the weight room.
that was all we were working on, was hoping to get finalized plans.
Yep.
For the street improvement project. We'll table this in case they pop into the meeting late. I wonder if they thought our hearings were gonna take longer, so we'll table that and come back to it if we need to. Item B, request to appear from Griffin Japp to discuss water drainage on 7th Street. How we doing?
Yeah, how are you?
Good.
My name's Griffin Japp. I live at 618 North 7th Street. And, kind of live down in a little bit of a hole. But I receive the water from all the houses on the west side of 7th Street and the east side of 8th Street, in between, West Dodge and Bell Street. It kind of just funnels down and right into my yard, and I did some grading because it's silting my yard full. And now that my grass is growing and all that, I kind of would like to maybe address the drainage, water drainage for the street and all that.
Unfortunately, we've looked at this before, and there's really, I don't know that. Do you have any suggestions? I guess would be our first question.
Matt Jack, Kennedy, Nebraska. So after looking at that, what he said, like all the water from your house there, Scott, that all comes out of the county or on the road there. How come there isn't a ditch on the west side that takes it back down to the cul-de-sac there? To the north?
Well,
There's an area inlet that was back in there before that other development got built in there. And then houses that water probably went back down and around. Because all the water that he's got is from everybody's house there, from back there at 8th Street, all funnels down and comes down through his place.
Yeah.
It's just not right.
but you think there's an inlet that was buried during construction of the houses on the end?
Yeah, I know. I haven't looked at it tonight.
Yeah.
There is one over there. I know it's been some time, but when them houses got built, I mean, that's kind of per se, but his neighbor to the north, I mean, he's kind of got a dike kind of down the hill to kind of keep it so it doesn't run into his basement too.
Mhm.
But where he's got it, he's at the low spot there where all the rock and all the water and everything else runs down through there. You know, now there should be a ditch on the west side of the road that everybody would have a culvert in, and then that water should run around and go around the cul-de-sac to the north.
So we would need, basically, we need collectors on the east and west side and then funnel it to that.
You probably need to have somebody engineer it,
Mhm.
first and see or do a study on it and start the process of that. Is what I guess which you guys are there for, but to see where the water can go, or if it can tie into that, but now with that house into the north over there, and I don't know how many years ago that all got built, I guess.
Yeah,
Because I'm not from town here, but that water. It shouldn't come run right down in his garage from everybody there. Scott, you live there, I mean, you know exactly what we're talking about, can you inform the board there a little bit about that or not?
Even before Griffin lived there, the previous owners, they were
we
having rain,
had
yeah.
discussions there. We tried doing something with that ditch and to my knowledge, they didn't complain after that. Now, I don't know if they just were tired of complaining or.
There is no
anything.
ditch on the west side of the road there at all. Everybody's got it and it's their driveway or parking up into their house. There, I mean, it should be that everybody would have a culvert and a driveway per se, one way or the other. And then it can keep taking the water from Scott's house up there. And then it can all keep going to the north up through there one way or the other.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just an idea, but at least it would intercept all of that water that's coming from the next house up on 8th Street, because all of the back lots from basically all the gutters and the back lots from everybody up on 8th Street, all that water comes that way too. So it's just not a little bit, it's all funneled in right there. And he's probably got, I don't know, $4,000 to $5,000 into seeding, matting, cleaning that all up. Grass, because he's had to have other contractors come in and help him do some of that too.
Yeah.
And that's really not all of his expense really, in my mind,
Yeah.
you know? And so
Well,
what does he do with that?
well, unfortunately, most everything east of 8th or 9th Street wasn't designed with culverts and drainage in mind, just, just the curb drainage. So this isn't the only place in town that has problems with drainage, but I know it's a big problem and I know we've looked at this before. So why don't we as a streets committee talk to John, see what we think we need to do. If we need to get our village engineer involved, our streets engineer involved and tell us, what they would recommend, and then we can look at that as a board and make decisions on that. So I know it's a problem and it's probably one of the worst ones in town as far as drainage. We've been lucky with some other ones where we redid that Elm Street, somebody else had water running right in their front door and we were able to divert water with that, but that's a concrete street that, it was easy for them to fix. So I wish we had gutters on all these streets and drainage collectors,
But
but
that's an option too.
yeah,
Maybe that street needs to be paved and get a gutter on it.
yeah.
And then, of course, then you'd have storm sewer that could take it back out.
And then we're have to assess everybody for the paving
Yes.
project and then
Yeah.
nobody wants it.
Well, that's on you're exactly right, but
Yeah,
I mean, that might be a
yeah,
possible fix.
yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
We'll look into it as a street committee and try and get together with John and see what we think we need to do and we will talk to I imagine that'll have to end up talking to our street engineer, which is JEO, and see what they recommend.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for your time.
No.
Do you have anything to add? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I know exactly the house you're talking about,
Yeah,
because I lived in the one north of it.
you did.
I lived in that town for like 3 seasons. It all runs right to that house because that house is built below the street. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So that's Peterson's old house.
Yeah.
a storm sewer between 7th and 6th.
I can figure out where he thinks there's a storm sewer. He thought there was something over here probably.
Well, not there, but down half a block, isn't there a storm sewer in the alley down there?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think he mentioned it to me, I never went back and looked at it, but that's why he was trying to make us water. Cut that on the south side of his house to get down to that possibly.
I don't think they'll be happy if we pave their street and assess 5, 6, how many houses are there? And you're one of them. I know you're not gonna be that.
Scott's gonna go.
All right, yeah, as far as, yeah.
Cause yeah, the village doesn't own any adjacent property, so all the property owners are supposed to get
Yeah.
the cost of that project.
4 foot down. You know, at least 4 foot, yeah.
All right, item C ties in with our committee report. We'll table that one as well.
Andrew's here.
Andrew is here, okay,
This doesn't do it justice.
all right.
This is.
Andrew, can you hear us?
He said all the water from back here is coming that way too.
You have his mic open. Andrew?
He's muted though.
Yep, can you hear us?
Yeah, there we go.
So I got myself and just for your guys' reference, myself and Peyton Best with JEO are in our Grand Island office tonight.
Okay. What do you have for us tonight?
Are you ready for us?
Yes. Are you ready for
All
us?
right. I am. I was just making sure you guys are ready.
Okay. Yep.
All right, I'll share my screen. Oh shoot, it says you guys have to stop sharing.
Oh, okay. There you go. Now try.
Okay. All right. You guys see it?
There it goes. Yeah.
All right. So there's a handful of things we want to talk about tonight. Some of it's just some updates to the plans, some feedback we want to get from you guys. And then another large portion of it is the phasing of the project, how best to phase this with the school and traffic and keeping residents happy and able to get to their homes. So we'll first start with a few questions from the plans themselves. One of the big things, we'll start on 8th Street. So right now, 8th Street, the high point, I guess you would say, is not center of the roadway, like a normal street here, like you see on 9th that we propose. The high point in 8th Street's to the east, right in here. And it's more of a parabolic, so it's more just crown. It's a curved roadway, not a straight crown like a normal roadway. So that was kind of causing us some grading and drainage concerns through the design. So what we are proposing for 8th Street is for 8th Street to be just one constant slope from left to right, as you can see here in this exhibit, at 2.5% grade. You do notice how the right side is lower, top of curb is lower than the left top of curb in this exhibit. However, out in the field today, this is the top of curbs on both sides match very closely to what's there today. So right now today, the east side of 8th Street is actually lower than the west side, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we're proposing on 8th Street. We are addressing some storm sewer on 8th and Bell Street. We're doing a little changes to that to help with this road, since all water will be draining to the east side of the roadway. We are also going driveways that will be on the east side will have a 4-inch lip curb. That just helps with keeping water in the roadway and not overtopping the curb and going into a driveway. Excuse me. I guess, is there any questions or concerns on doing this versus our normal? All the rest of the streets, we are doing a normal 2% crown. So the left and right will be 2% sloping towards the gutter, with the high point being the center line.
What kind of issues are we gonna see from having a street slope that way instead of a crown?
The biggest thing you'll see, of course, is a rain or snow event. The water will, instead of being on both gutters, it'll pond more on the east gutter. So you'll see, the east side, you might, during a heavy rain event, you're gonna get more rain or more water sitting in that curb line until it drains fully. Than as you would see in a normal crown street where it's broken out evenly, it's all gonna be on one side.
But the
We
street
don't
is.
have any. Oh, go ahead.
No, you can finish. I'm sorry. I thought you were.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, we don't have any major concerns with a storm event that it would cause any damage or any concern from a flooding standpoint. That's why we are addressing some of the storm sewer on the north end.
So if the street is already sloping that way, is it really gonna change anything on how much water we get on the east side?
So right now you do have a high point still on the road, so it's broke. It's just not right in the center.
Okay,
And one side is at a, Peyton, do you remember it's like at a 6% cross slope. And the other side's closer to a 2 to 3. So your percentages are way off today on what that street is. First, now it's just gonna be an even 2.5%.
okay.
So you're gonna see more water on the east curb line with this design than you do today.
John, do you have any concerns with the drainage there?
What is the reasoning for not just making it correct? Like every other school?
The normal crown.
Yeah, what is the reason?
biggest? Yep, the biggest thing is grades, driveways. We're getting slopes to be, what were slopes at one point, Peyton? Do you remember?
Very steep on the, would that be west side, and then going back into draining water onto the properties.
Okay. On the east side. Okay, so sorry, I was talking to our designer Peyton. So slopes on the west side were getting close to 15-16%. And then we were having water back into properties on the east side. So the drainage for water on the east side was causing drainage to go into the properties, and then the west side we were seeing driveways slopes of up to 16%. And we usually like to stay in that 10% range for our max.
So you're saying that the elevation on the west side housing is higher than the east side?
Correct. And with this layout, even with it all sloping to one side, this elevation here at top of curb and this elevation here at top of curb is very, very close to what it is today.
Okay.
So this isn't exactly right, but this is, like here. So this is very closely to what you guys have today, is this red line that I'm drawing. It's actually probably exaggerated just a hair more. So that is what you see today.
So the crown
This is going at like a, yep, this is going like a 2% up here, and then this drops at like a 6.
My only concern is the two, I know that the 2 or 3 property owners on the far north end of the east side of this street always have a bunch of water at the end of their driveways if it rains. Is that going to create more water, or are we going to solve that problem with the drain, with the storm sewers?
with the 4-inch curb.
With the storm sewers, I mean, will the storm sewers accept it? I don't know right now if we have a low spot right there, so it can't get to the storm sewers. We really have issues during the winter time with water cooling at the last, well, I would say 3 properties on the east side to the north before Bell Street.
Okay, just a second here. I'm looking at our plans here. So our storm sewer,
It's north too far. I think you talked about bringing it south farther.
yeah,
Is that
yeah,
correct?
correct. That's, I'm gonna show that here.
I was just concerned if sloping everything that way would make it even worse, but maybe you're gonna correct that with the storm sewer improvements.
So our storm sewer is not turned on in this drawing here, but the storm sewer inlet today is, yeah, it's right here at the intersection. And it is actually getting moved back to right here. And right here. So it'll be on either side of this driveway, this furthest north driveway. As for the grades going down, that existing road was pretty flat. We're cutting that down to help with keeping that water inside the curb and gutter with it drained through that storm. So yes, we will see a I guess better, the drainage is going to be better than what it is today at those 3 driveways that you were talking about.
And obviously, we're not gonna have because I know that they've also got concern from the property owner clear to the north on that side about the dip in his driveway, if that can be corrected from the driveway to the street transition, and but is that gonna change at all? According to what you're saying, it's not gonna change.
I have Peyton pulling that up right now.
Okay.
On that driveway, you're talking this furthest north on the east side?
Correct.
Okay. Yep, just give me a second while Peyton pulls that up. And we'll talk through that driveway. Is there any other driveways that were of concern?
Not that I've heard from any homeowners.
Okay. They used to have a dip, is what you're saying?
Yeah, he was just concerned about it, and if any street improvements were to be done, he wanted that addressed.
Okay, yeah, we will look that up. Just give us a second, we'll look that up and I'll kind of keep talking through the rest of 8th Street. Is that all right? And then we'll come back to that.
Yep.
Okay. One of the other things we did on 8th Street was, I believe last time you guys discussed, was the intersection of 8th and Dodge. You wanted that to be broke out into the 8th Street big group. So Dodge will be separate. The intersection of 8th and Dodge will be part of the 8th Street project. Is that what you guys were thinking still?
Yeah, I think so. I think if we can afford it, I'm gonna try and push to, my feelings are that we should try and get them both done at once, but if we have to break it out, I think 8th Street and that intersection is a good way to break it up, don't you?
Okay. Yeah, it works grade wise. So switching it over to the 8th Street project will work fine. Excuse me. The last thing we had on 8th Street was the sidewalk here between south of Dodge Street along the west side. The school had brought it up in earlier conversations that they wanted that to be removed and replaced. They talked about them paying for it. I guess our question is, and we can reach out to them, but we're not going to be touching that sidewalk. That sidewalk doesn't look that old to start with. I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
would
thought you were gonna
suggest-
say that we were gonna have to tear out the corner intersections, which we already did once after the paving projects. A lot of that is new. So yeah, if the school wants new sidewalks on that property, I think that's a separate issue for them.
Okay.
So I'm in agreement with you. I thought that was newer, and we can talk to the school and see if they wanna do that project separately.
Okay. That sounds good. I just got that driveway here, so give me 1 second here while I look at it. Okay, so that driveway of concern, that was up here. This one here on the east side, correct?
Yes.
So that one there actually is going to slope towards the street. So this, you can see here where we're going, our limits of concrete are. So from that tie-in, it's going to drain towards the street.
So we should get rid of his dip.
Do you know a grade on that or anything? Is it gonna be improved? 'Cause I think now he was concerned about how steep it was. But I don't think it's gonna change much.
It's 4.7%. Existing was probably right about that 5 range, so a little less. But still 4.73 is relatively flat compared to some of the ones that we were dealing with on the west side.
Okay.
I guess anything else from anyone on this 8th Street? Otherwise, we can keep going. We can certainly come back to that crown. Or I guess the cross slope of the roadway at the end if we need to. This 2.5, if anybody has any thoughts or questions that pop up as we discuss more. Moving on, 9th Street, there's a few things on 9th Street we need to talk about. You'll see once we get to some of the construction phasing that we do propose a temporary drive through here. I'll kind of just rough speaking right in here will be a temporary drive. So we are proposing to relocate this fire hydrant that is here on the southwest corner of Bell and 9th Street. Again, the other hydrant we're looking at relocating is further south on 9th Street. You can see here it's pretty close to basically right in the back curb of the proposed roadway. So we are proposing to basically flip that to the west side of the water main instead of the east side. One question we have is some cities like to reuse their hydrants if they're in good shape. Other places are just like, let's replace brand new hydrant. I didn't know what you guys like to do typically, or if you guys have a preference on that.
James, do you have any thoughts on those hydrants?
I don't, I'd have to look into them and see how old they are.
This one doesn't look that old. I mean, it doesn't.
I don't think that one there is, I think the one down in the middle of the street is a little bit
The
older.
picture was taken, 2012, so.
Yeah. We're thinking one of them's newer than the other. If we don't have to replace them, I would rather not.
Okay. I guess if that's James or whoever wants to look at those and just let Kate know, and Kate just send me an email if she would.
We can do that.
With what you guys want to do, and then we'll make sure we spec it that way. Of course, it's going to be cheaper if we reuse the new, but if they're old, this would be the time to replace. So, okay. Moving on, 11th Street. Is our next one here. So on 11th Street, we run into this open field here along the school. Elevation wise is pretty low. So what we're proposing on the east side of 11th Street is instead of doing a full 6-inch curb, we're proposing a 4-inch curb, roughly 200 feet north of Dodge, running along the east side all the way to just south of that school entrance, kind of here by that shot put ring, along the east side. Again, that open lot is lower, that sidewalk is lower. So by doing this 4-inch curb, we're able to save that sidewalk along that whole side and not have to replace that. It's still going to keep the water in from a drainage standpoint, but helps with the grading. So
yeah, that curb, that street gets a lot of cars lined up there waiting for pickup. So I think a low curb makes sense there.
Yep, that'll help with people opening their car doors.
Yep.
Okay. The next one we have is Dodge Street. So last time we talked at a meeting here, we decided to go with the S curve. That meant design standards here by the school. One question that we kind of had was there was some light discussion, I guess, for this property to possibly add a driveway. We still are showing that existing driveway to be built here off of Dodge. Is there any further discussion on this? I know part of that was possibly adding a drive due to having to take part of the or trying to get more right away. Is there any discussion on that at this time?
I don't think we need the right of way. I think we own that, don't we, John?
I think, as far as I know, we own that.
Why don't you put it in the plans as adding a driveway in there? And if for some reason we can't make that work, we can always take it out, but I'd rather have it in and make a change at the last minute.
Yep, that'd be the easier route to go for sure.
Yep.
Okay. That will work. Was there any other questions on the plans before we move into phasing Peyton that you have? Okay.
Yeah, I think we own it. We have the right of way.
One other thing I wanted to point out on 8th Street that we did since we talked last was, sorry, wrong direction here. Was we adjusted our alignment. Typically we put a new road center right away, the center line right in the center right away. However, on 8th Street, you guys have fiber optic line that runs along the east side of the road and a gas main that runs along the west side. So instead of a bunch of utility relocations and whatnot, we adjusted the road back to basically where the existing road is. And left it offset from right away a few feet. Just wanted to kind of point that out. That is only the section of 8th Street north of Dodge. The section south of 8th Street is, or south of Dodge is still center right away.
Okay.
But just kind of wanted to point that out. It's nothing too major. It just helps with any potential utility conflicts.
Makes sense.
All right, so now we'll move into our phasing that we're kind of proposing here. Of course, with the school, there's phasing is always a topic of discussion. Of course, this is the phasing JEO is proposing. If a contractor came in and had a great mastermind plan behind them, and we would talk through what their ideas were, but this is what we'll propose in the specs, as well as get any feedback from you guys. So what we're showing here is an overall map. This shows 6 phases. It broke out into 6 phases. Some of these phases can be done at the same time, but they are broke out into 6 separate phases. Phase 1 is 11th Street from Dodge to Bell. Phase 2 is Dodge, and that's from 11th to 9th Street. These are kind of the two streets and paths that the school has said or had concern that they wanted these done during the summer months, less impact to the school, while the rest of these phases could still be going on during school year. So 11th and Dodge, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 is 9th Street from Dodge to Bell. Phase 4 is Dodge Street west of 11th. Phase 5 is Dodge Street east of 9th. And then phase 6 is 8th Street, the whole 8th Street, including that Dodge and 9th Street intersection. We'll kind of dive into each phase. There's a few details that we want to talk through with you guys, get any feedback you have or any questions. We'll start with phase 1. That's 11th Street again from Dodge to Bell. What we are proposing here is that the contractor pave this street in half width. So they would close the whole street. Excuse me, not close the whole street. They would close the west half of the street, west half of 11th Street. And we would propose the contractor to put 7 foot of temporary material down, whether that's millings, rock, crushed concrete. And this 11th Street would act as a one-way going north. That would mean during construction, these homeowners couldn't get into their properties. However, with that 7 foot crushed material or aggregate material, they could park along there, basically off-street parking. And then they could walk across into their residence while the west half is getting paved, as well as their driveways. Then it would flip when the west half and the driveways were complete, The contractor would then tear out the east half of the road. During that time, the residents or homeowners would have access along the west side and into their driveways. Again, it would still remain as a one-way street. Then post-construction, the aggregate material would be removed and the grass would be reestablished in that area. Is there any questions on that proposal? Biggest thing was having access for these residents. Now, if there's a different discussion where residents were willing to park along Dodge, I think Bell Street's pretty narrow. I don't think there's much on-street parking there. But if residents were all willing to park on Dodge, we could reconsider this to be a full closure. But this was our best option, keeping access into these properties.
Yeah,
I guess the way to go.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Next phase we'll talk about, this is phase 2. This is Dodge Street between 11th and 12th. This one's pretty straightforward. We'd have a hard closure here at 11th and Dodge. One thing we would require the contractors to leave the west half of this intersection open, allowing vehicles to make this turn. They'll have to yield to oncoming traffic, but you can go from 11th to Dodge going west or north. Then the whole intersection at 9th and Dodge would be open for traffic going north or east. Due to all these driveways being close to the school, we propose again a aggregate recycled material driveway 24-foot wide to get into the school parking lot. In case there's any summer activities, weightlifting, practice, any of the things of those sorts. As well as a temporary driveway here on the south side from the school parking lot into this driveway where these two residents are, so they can have access again at all times. Any questions or comments on this phase?
Looks good.
Okay. Moving on to phase 3 here. This is 9th Street. Right now, today, this acts as a one-way street today, so we're proposing during construction, this whole street gets closed. Then again, here's where that temporary drive I was discussing earlier comes off of Bell, comes into that school drive so they can access. And then we'd have another temporary here going into the parking lot. One of the things I want to just remind everyone is with these temporaries, everything would be put back to the way it is today. With any sidewalk that was damaged, curb, paving, any of that would be put back to the original condition. One of the bigger questions we have on this one that I think needs to be had with the school is there any possibility that some of this parking here could be for residents during construction? I don't know if that's a possibility or not. It would just help due to this long stretch of road being closed down.
That would be a discussion. Yeah, we could have that discussion with the school, especially if it was during the summer months. I think they would be more willing to do that, but I can't speak for them.
Yeah. Okay. And one thing we could talk with them too is if it was in the summer, maybe we just have this temporary drive here where residents come in, they park here, walk across, and when they leave, they come back out. It's wide enough for one-way traffic, but that's not a very long distance that if it's just these residents parking here, they could come in and out of this one side here versus going to the parking lot. So definitely something. Yep.
Would it be feasible not to tear up that north side and just go from the south? Because wouldn't they have access from the south, the parking lot?
Yeah.
That entire north corner is all new right now. It's brand new.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, and that I guess we just left it as it was. There was flow through here.
Right.
The question would be if the school's good with residents parking here, I don't see why this couldn't, we couldn't just use this. That would also eliminate that hydrant relocation up here that we were talking about. The only reason we were relocating this hydrant was due to this temporary road here.
I think that, I believe there's alley access between Ninth and, well, I've been 3/4 of the way.
That's, I got it pulled up.
Well,
There is some potential for parking on the east side of their homes.
And still get back.
Okay, yeah, I know, I'll pull that up here too. We did look at some alley.
We could reconstruct an alley just for that purpose.
Yeah, that might be better than moving hydrants and stuff. We could put some aggregate where there's supposed to be an alley and give people access on the east side of their houses on 9th Street.
Yeah, except for 2.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's.
And that was one thing we weren't sure. We kind of had the same question on 8th Street. You know, the south part of 8th Street, this alley is pretty defined. You get up here north, that kind of that between 9th and 8th and 8th and 7th, the alley kind of almost looks like it dies in there maybe.
Yeah. But I think we could probably get, like John said, 75% of the people could probably access their house from the alley.
Yeah, and if the city was willing to put some aggregate down if need be, for the meantime, so it could be accessible.
I like that.
Some minor grading or something that we needed done first, that would be fine, yeah.
I think that looks better for us than pouring rocks on their brand new sidewalks.
Yeah, and then you're not having to deal with the school. I mean, you're still on city right away that you're using instead of getting onto the school's property. Okay, we will make that adjustment. Then we had phase 4, which is Dodge Street over here, nothing too crazy. We're just gonna close this all off permanently while they do construction. With this resident getting access from 11th Street, and this resident would be able to get access from Dodge just on this side. So they wouldn't have access into their drive, but they'll be able to park relatively closely.
Looks good.
Same thing here. Close this off. This homeowner can either has access on 9th Street or can park, somewhere over here in this parking lot and be able to walk to their residence. And then the last one was 8th Street. Again, this phase down here between Dodge and to the south, we figured they would park in the alley. It looks like some people have garages already today back there. So we figured alley access there. Here, we talked about doing something similar that we did to 11th Street. Having that temporary aggregate surfacing on the east side, allowing it just to be a one-way. One thing of concern we have is just with grades getting into the sidewalk with this aggregate surfacing over here, that this could become a little costly if we're going to start replacing sidewalk and grading. So if there was a way to be able to let them access from the alley, I think that would be a lot more feasible, I guess, for the city. Than having to replace the sidewalk for this whole stretch if we get into it with this temporary surfacing. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Or how far that alley goes. This alley doesn't look like it goes as far as 9th Street's alley.
I don't think it's as defined. We're probably gonna have to look into that, aren't we?
Scott would know.
Scott, what do you think?
That's behind your house. I think it only goes to.
Well, the sign ends right behind my house, but
We could take the sign out and probably get back farther.
they do go,
They drive around.
KJ gets through to his.
But if we remove the sign, we could probably get 3/4 of the way down, I would say.
Yeah, no reason.
We could probably do a similar thing to 9th Street where we get some alley access for most of those people.
And I guess with those alleys, is that something the city forces will probably work on, that's not something you would require the contractor to do? Or would you want the contractor to do that as part of their temporary?
If it'll save us some money, I think we could put some rocks down. That's really all we need to do is put some rocks down, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, just make it so it's drivable for someone to get in and out.
I think I'd rather pay for rocks and have our guys putting rocks down than reconstruct the sidewalks on that whole street.
Yeah, I mean, if you were looking at the sidewalk, it's pretty expensive. If we look just roughly what it would be to replace this whole sidewalk, and you're in that $75,000 to $80,000 mark. So some rock would be way cheaper and address your alley. The only other thing I had was just a few things related to schedule. I guess first things first, 8th Street. Are we wanting that to be part of the bid just as an alternate? Is that kind of what we're thinking? Basically, base bid would be 9th, 11th and Dodge, and then the alternate would be 8th Street.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a rock to the back.
I don't want to split it up any more than 2 ways. I think that's a good way to split it, don't you?
Yeah, basically, yeah, you have one base bid and then your alternate.
Usually it goes to.
Yeah, let's do that. And then, you know, with the emphasis that we'd really love to get them all done at once and try and save costs.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And then from a schedule standpoint, we've sent these on to utility companies to get feedback from them. Specifically, they're at Dodge where we go around the school, but then any other locations where there may need to be some utility relocates. So those are off to them pending their review and their schedule. And then us moving forward, we plan to have basically, once we hear back from them, wrap up plans and specs, go to your meeting in your August meeting to get final approval to go out for bidding, advertise in September, and then we'd open bids in October and have award of bid at your October council meeting with construction in 2024.
Is that what you were thinking? Okay. All right, that doesn't put us too far behind the schedule for bidding, does it? I'm worried that we're getting later in the year than I thought we were going to be.
The problem, so I mean, we could bid sooner. That's not a problem. My biggest thing is contractors, one, don't have prices for next year at this, you know, if we bid too early. Is their biggest thing. We've kind of ran into this a lot now with how the economy is, that bidding for your 2024 season, the best time to bid is in that September, October timeframe for concrete. For asphalt, the best time to bid is in February of the year that you want to construct.
Okay.
So I mean, we can go out for bids sooner if you would like. We could have stuff wrapped up. Our biggest concern is just getting bids, competitive bids at that time frame, and possibly being too early.
Well, if that's when you guys think is the best time, then that's what we'll go with. I just don't want to get behind.
Yep. Nope, I agree. And that also gives time for those utility companies that are gonna have to relocate. You know, we're already talking with them that they can be out there late this summer, fall, relocating utilities, so they're all out of the way for construction to get started.
Sounds good.
All right, if there's nothing else, keep moving. So thank you guys for your time.
So let me review what questions you need answered from us is the fire hydrants. The alleys, for sure on the alleys that we talked about. And was there one other thing?
Talking to the school about, well, I guess if we're not gonna, excuse me, if we're not gonna utilize that parking area in the school, that was our other thing, was you guys talk to the school about these residents here along 9th Street parking.
Okay. All right. We'll make sure we get that info to you.
Yeah, and we will send just kind of a summary of tonight's meeting and kind of discussion we had to Kate. Just so you guys have it on record in case there's anything else that gets brought up or any other things we'd like to discuss.
All right. Thank you for your
All
time.
right, yes, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Yeah, if we can eliminate that northern part here. Of having to do that there, that'd be huge.
Yeah,
They've been loading buses anyway over here for a lot of activities, or they can drive that bus down in through here
yeah,
and load stuff up for activities to not have to relocate that fire hydrant and drive on that.
yeah, that's just,
Yeah,
I think,
that'd be best to leave that alone.
Yeah.
If at all
and who knows,
possible.
maybe we'll get a lot of cheers for people being able to access the backside of their property. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. All right, item D, discussion and possible approval. Was there any other discussion on the street project? I'm sorry.
Nope, sounds good.
And we didn't have anything else to add on our committee report, so we'll move on to item B. Discussion and possible approval of parade permit for Arlington Senior Parade on May 17th. Is that why you're here? Oh, my. Do we have anybody here from that?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
The sheriff and Dan didn't have any concerns. So I know that much.
I thought last year we just decided to let I don't think we've approved a parade, have we? In a couple years? Since
Yeah, the close calls.
yeah,
One of the questions we had was insurance, parade insurance. No, it's available and looks like they checked the form. No, they're not getting insurance.
I'll talk with Robinson. Always been the case. He knows it's gonna happen every year and usually has deputies around during that time, so they're watching and.
Yeah. But if we approve a parade, then we're omitting the rules of a parade, right? No seatbelts, you can be in back of trucks. That's really the difference between us approving it or not. And if we don't approve it, they can still form a parade. They just can't, they've got to follow all the laws.
Yeah, I don't think we approved it last year.
We did.
I don't think we did. I think we just talked with Robinson and he said, well, we'll be up there and watch them.
well, if we have no motion to approve the parade permit, then I guess we'll just tell Sheriff Robinson to make sure they obey the traffic rules. I think that's been our biggest concern, so. Unless someone wants to make a motion, we'll move on. Item E, discussion of plans for downtown sidewalk repairs.
I just put that on there just so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle and keep focus on it.
Can we skip ahead and get you, I don't know what you're waiting for.
I apologize because I didn't call ahead and say I was coming, what I was coming for.
Oh,
But I don't think it's gonna take more than just a couple minutes. If you're okay with skipping ahead, I'm all right with that.
yeah, is it something that's on the agenda that we can talk about? Okay,
So for those who don't know me, I'm Susan Green and I'm here on behalf of an outreach program that we have at St. Paul's Church. Where we provide medical equipment to those in need. We want to do a fundraiser of a like a fun run walk type of a thing. We're looking at August 26th. We have a 1 mile and a 3 mile route kind of penciled out. We're not asking for street closures or anything like that. I'm just here more to let you know that we want to do this. So you're aware.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything you need to do to put this in place, legally or whatever, but.
yeah, I don't know how many people you're talking, but that's something we probably have Kate review and see if we need to get an approval. I mean, we put it in the paper that we're doing it for the summer sizzle, so we should probably do something. And something like that, we would have to have on the agenda for our next meeting, so make sure we draw something up official, so. Yeah. Get a hold of Kate and find out what we need to do for that, at least get you on the agenda to publicize that we're gonna close this, or. I just don't think it's a good idea for us to have a run without putting it in the paper that we're gonna have
Okay.
people there, so.
Right.
And I think we close, no, we don't close the streets for the summer sizzle, so. But that's something we should probably notify in the paper, and without being on the agenda, I don't think we can vote on that, so.
All right.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you. On,
No, I just
Item
wanted
E.
item E on the agenda just to review it, just so we don't lose focus on it. It's,
I think what we should probably do is resend the letters, shouldn't we?
that's what I was thinking. Give them a reminder.
Yeah.
Nothing's gotten done yet by anybody.
And most of these, all the letters we sent out were people that had trees on the property that we were gonna give them some help with on that, so. Yeah, I would say let's resend the letters.
And what was our deadline?
August is
The
it?
end of August of this year.
And what happens if they weren't done by the end of August? Was there any?
I don't think
were you
it's
holding
said in the
anybody-
letter, did it?
No, for letter
I
something.
think it's just a suggestion, wanted it done by.
Okay, so it's just a soft date.
Yeah,
Got it.
see how much compliance we get this time, and then maybe we start figuring out what the penalties are if we don't get it done, or
I say we
we
pour
just
it.
start doing it ourselves, yeah. Send the bill.
Yep.
All right. Item F, discussion and possible approval of request to close Eagle Street from Second Street to the alley in front of the Veterans Club for poker run on Saturday, August 19th, from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. John, do you see any concerns with that? No more than the street dance. I didn't hear any problems from last year's event.
Did they close it last year? I don't think they.
I think they did the same.
Oh,
I
I asked
think,
for the whole street to be closed, but we kind of said.
Yeah.
So that people can get. At least part of them.
I'm not serving alcohol. It's not like.
No.
Street dance.
no, they don't have a liquor license to be outside, so.
I'll make that motion. As worded.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of closing Eagle Street from Second Street to the alley in front of the Veterans Club for poker run on Saturday, August 19th, 2023, from 1 to 7 p.m. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Travis Kramer,
Aye.
Scott McCorney,
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen,
Aye.
Jason
Aye.
Weedy, Paul Kraus.
Aye. Item F. James, sorry you had to wait through all that.
All right.
What do you have for us?
First thing I have, been kind of working on county board or the county's water. Found meter numbers and meter reader numbers for 5 of the locations down there. 2 of them red, 3 of them are an alarm. So this week I will get the 3 that are an alarm fixed. It's just a communication error. Usually it's just a broken wire. We will be able to read them anytime we want. Those are the buildings are, it's a wash station, which is be the furthest east building on the south side. The Ryman building, the northwesterns, the southwesterns, and the Two Rivers Arena. So all of those are metered. I talked to Brian, he said the only thing he knows of that's not metered is there's a fire hydrant that they use for mud volleyball and I think washing down where they do the tracks and all that. He said he believes that they use about 30,000 gallons of water, but they do put a meter on it and they do read it themselves. They just never told me about it. So those are numbers we can get from them as well. So that definitely help. Finding that information is definitely going to be a huge help. The other thing I had, I do have a proposal from Trek in your packet for cleaning the sewers, a quarterly bid. Looks like it is about $11,000 a year. They do a quarter of the town. That's just kind of a rough guess. Of course, they're not going to do exactly 11,472 feet each year, so it's not going to be an exact price, but this will be, that's pretty much close. And then in the back of that, there's also a letter from People Service. If you guys do decide to decline, I think you've done it before, you just sign the letter. It's just something that we have to have on file. If you guys don't want to do that, so.
I think this is a good proposal. I think this is something that Travis and I should talk about at our budget discussions, but it's certainly good for people. If you guys have any input on this, I think it's, how often would you say when we have Trek here that they have to do the heavy cleaning? That's the only thing that concerns me is how we approve that cleaning, because it's, I mean, it's got to be done while they're there, you know? So I just kind of like to get an idea of, is it 10% of the time, 20%? That they can't get through a line? I mean, I know we've had it before.
I mean, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 times since I've been here.
Okay. So it's probably what you would consider to be a slight risk that we would have to pay for that extra heavy duty cleaning.
Yeah, there are slight risks. You have a backup in people's property, depends on, the slope and if their vents aren't correct, they're gonna get smells in their house and all that. And then some of the older infrastructure downtown, that's clay. There's always that the jet has a lot of PSI behind it, so it could ruin some of the infrastructure. The only good part of that is if it does ruin it, it was probably going to be ruined eventually anyway, so then we would go about it and be able to fix it before it happens. This is new to me. I haven't been around for anybody to do it, so
Yeah.
I asked Mike a couple of questions about it today, and he said it's definitely something that we recommend having done.
James, is there any way to get an add-on price for camera?
I could call him, yeah.
I mean, while we're doing all this work, could we get a shot of some of these sewer lines and find out if we've got some that are in bad shape?
Yeah, I could find out a price. I would probably recommend not cameraing everything. Usually they will know when they're running the jetter through, if there's a problem area, it won't run through smooth. It hits stuff, slows it down.
Okay.
So then we might, that would help us at least know where some problem areas are, and then we could come back in after that.
But maybe if it's not as much as we're expecting, maybe, yeah, get us a price on it and we'll make that call whether we want to do that on part of it, whatever.
I know at one time they came out here and they jetted on 9th Street, but there was actually a jetter that had a camera on it. So it was just the wrong thing that went through. So I asked them about that. I'm sure that would be cheaper than getting it. A camera.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, if it's.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right. So we'll go over that stuff, and if you guys have any questions or concerns on that cleaning schedule, let us know before we have our budget discussions as a committee.
I was curious, Kate, how did you find out about the meters down there?
I was just looking through some binder for something else, and I just came across a page with all the meter numbers, and I was like, oh, this might be helpful. By luck.
I think they were doing a lot of transition probably 2 or 3 clerks ago. So I think things were just, that's when we had a lot going on, and things probably just got lost by the wayside there. So thank you for finding that.
On that sheet that we found it, the last time it was read was 2016, so it's
Yeah,
been a while.
that was before the flood. Okay. So yeah, I do want to sit down and talk about a budget, and I'd love to make a decision on that cleaning after we get an idea on cameraing too. If they were to camera at the same time, we'd like to know that price.
All right, I'll get a hold of them tomorrow. Have them put one together.
All right. So we'll table that discussion. Anything else for James?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, James.
All right, Mike. Sorry you had to wait till the last. But I thought maybe if we let you see some of this, it would either scare you away or make you more willing to be here. So let's jump ahead and get Mike out of here. Discussion and possible approval of appointing Mike Dinkins to serve on the planning commission. Mike Dwyer had recommended him. You know him through the fire department, so, and you have an interest and a heartbeat, so. So, yeah. Comes highly recommended from Mike, I would say, we need a replacement. Is anybody willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to. How's that go?
Appoint there.
Appoint Mike Deacons to serve on the plan.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of Mike Dinkins to serve on the planning commission. And is that a 2-year term or 4? I forget. Did he tell you how long you're signing up for? I believe they're 2-year appointments, but if it's different, we'll let you know. So.
Until you find a replacement. That's what I think it's been.
Supreme Court justice.
I say you're looking at, I was a former planning commissioner, he was a planning commissioner, so.
Yeah. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Jason Lacy.
Aye.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McBurney.
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. Thank you for your patience. You're more than welcome to stay to the end, but you're free to go if you want.
Good to see what's going on. What to see.
All right. Item G, police report. We haven't had any.
Sheriff is, they have like a police memorial
Okay.
banquet thing going on tonight, so.
Okay. Sounds like we're lucky we're not having some problems that the rest of the county's been having this week. It's been a rough week, I think. Anybody have anything for Sheriff Robinson, or you guys have anything as a committee?
Do we have any concerns at this point, do we?
All right, let's move on to item H, Parks Committee report. Travis and Jeremy, do you guys have anything?
Can't say that we do.
Well, nothing right now.
No.
Library report, let's move down to that. I see they're getting some lighting done. Where was that? What page was that on?
Did they come check the caulking for the pool then or whatever?
They came, we met with them, Travis and
Mhm.
they suggested a procedure to see if it was absorbing water.
Hmm.
I tried it. We filled the pool. I didn't see anything.
Oh, the pool's full?
It's full now.
Oh.
He went around
Yeah,
and.
walked the whole thing, looked all, didn't see anything with subject question.
Actually, you guys had talked about it last month.
Yep, yeah, we sure did.
And I think she's planning on opening the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
And we're good for lifeguards and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Good deal. All right, anything on the library report? Anybody had questions or concerns on?
John, did Aaron talk to you about a smoking pole, one of those?
There was one out there, but I think it got destroyed, so I think we might have one.
Okay.
But I know she never did talk to me about it, but I can.
I told her I'd mention something that if we had one around stashed somewhere, there's been some cigarette butts thrown around the flowers and that maybe just
I
somewhere for
don't know if
people.
it's gonna help.
May not, but
Put it
it's, at
out there.
least it's there.
All right, if nothing else on the library or parks, we'll move on to cemetery. Is there anything new going on out there this month?
Well, yeah, got her all lit up out there, so it looks pretty nice. I got some pictures on my phone, I guess, but yeah, it's kind of neat if you drive out there at nighttime, shines everything nice, but they got their electrical all squared away. There's some areas that aren't seeded. We didn't know if we should possibly lay some sod. John was thinking maybe we could, that's why we have the estimate in the package, to maybe sod that before Memorial Day. Wise, throw some grass seed there. It'd probably do the trick, but still it'd be.
That's the one week of the year that place. shuts.
Yeah,
So
that's,
I'm sure the sod would be appreciated.
got some Memorial money to use and the rest, sure we can around the budget.
And I spoke with John Reichman about that. He said that generally it takes 2 weeks for it to be accessible for foot traffic, but he didn't see a problem with it for that one day, not watering, foot traffic, water the next day, so. That bid was for 15 feet out, the circumference of the monument all the way around, and then there was a little area across the road that they dug up to get their lighting. If you drove out there, you can see it.
Well, we have the bid there. Does
And then with that bid though, for the sod labor, he said if Jesse Sorensen, who he gets his sod from, if he prepped it and Jesse Sorensen came in and do it, he could probably cut the sod labor to a quarter of that, because he has the equipment to do it, and it doesn't take him near as long to lay the sod. So he said probably about 4 or 5 hours. So to cover it, if it was approved like this, but it may be less if Sorensen came and laid the sod.
that was my next question is, we're not gonna leave out another local.
No,
Okay.
they were both contacted, but
Good.
they're kind of communicating with each other.
That's perfect. And we have memorial money that we can use for that.
Well, that's not earmarked for anything, so.
Yeah. I'd say if you want to make a motion with that stipulation, we can pay for that with memorial funds.
Yeah, I never thought of lawn or anything. I don't think they had any other landscaping plans around it. So that is gonna be the best and low maintenance, we can mow it and be done.
Does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, approve the quote up to the $2,370 to come out of memorial funds for sod at the center.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of quote from JR Landscaping for sod at the cemetery in the amount of $2,370. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Jeremy Hansen.
Aye.
Jason Weasey.
Yep.
Travis Kramer.
Aye.
Scott McCorney.
Aye.
Paul Kraus.
Aye. All right, administrative building permit report. I didn't see anything too exciting going on there. Did anybody have any questions or concerns? If not, we'll move on to clerk report.
Deputy clerk started. He's doing very well. It's going well. The veteran banners are here. And then, I don't know, just working on updating stuff. And 33 ATV, UTV and golf cart permits.
That's good. People are buying licenses, so.
They are. My God.
And have you had any feedback, good, bad, otherwise on the new auditorium
Oh, yeah.
policies?
No, like bad feedback. I mean, everybody's been complying and we've taken a couple deposits, but
Maybe the word will,
no one's complying.
maybe the word will get out if people don't get their deposits back
Right,
and
so.
we won't have to worry about it down the road.
but
And how's the FEMA grant stuff going? Are you starting to feel like,
I validated another one. She hasn't gotten back to me, but I guess from my knowledge, we just keep validating them until we get through them all and then they inspect and then we get our money for that is what I'm understanding. So.
okay. All right. Any other questions or concerns for Kate? Item D. We'd like to set up, this is what we kind of changed this format last year where we meet as committees. And I don't know if you've been through this yet, have you? So we meet as committees and this is kind of the start of our budget meeting season. This way, I think we come as a committee with our budget suggestions and it's a little easier to get things together as a group. And then the committees have time to talk about things and hopefully this makes us more accountable for our committee stuff, making sure it gets done, making sure what we get budgeted and that we budget what we need for. And so we'd like to pick a date and we would like to do it before our regular meeting.
Yeah, so the one last year was like June 4th or 8th or something. So I don't know if we just keep it around the same time frame as last year's.
So ideally, it would be in time for us to meet as committees and talk about our budget needs, and then we could sit down at this meeting and have a little broader discussion with our budget, so. Our meeting will be on the 19th. Of course, we have another meeting on the holiday, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gone the week of the 5th.
The week of the 5th is bad for me too. Can everybody do a day on the week of the 12th?
I'm not available that week.
Me too.
Do we like Mondays better?
Sure. 1 second.
Mr. Fancy Pants already got 2 calendars.
No, Monday doesn't work. It's Tuesday.
Tuesday open for everybody?
13th is good for me.
Ooh, Tuesday's tough. All right.
14th is good for me. That's
The
another,
Wednesday's a better day for me.
it's another holiday though. I don't, do we do anything for Flag Day for you guys?
Flag Day's not a closed holiday, is it?
No, it's not.
Don't we get any ideas?
Does Wednesday work for everybody? The 14th, we can make it at whatever time. We can make it at 6:37, whatever.
I got ball
Wednesday?
games going now, huh? Or maybe not, maybe not, your boys are playing baseball.
Ball game.
I'm asleep, I got ball games going now.
Okay,
Wednesday's fire, but I'll skip it. Mike will fill me in. Thanks, Mike.
okay, so let's do Wednesday, the 14th. We want 6:30 or 7 or any other time? Anybody have a preference?
Nope.
Let's do 6:30 then. That way Kate gets home earlier. Is that okay with you, Kate?
Yeah.
I can't, we're checking with everybody, but the gal that has to run it.
I think it's fine.
All right, Wednesday, the 14th. Okay, I don't think there's anything else we skipped or tabled. If anybody, if there's nothing else, then I'd say we accept the motion for adjournment.
I will make the motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second for adjournment. If there's no further discussion, let's vote on that motion.
Travis Kramer,
Aye.
Scott McCorney,
Aye.
Jeremy Hansen,
Aye.
Jason Weasey,
Yep.
Paul Kraus.
Aye,
So do you file only? That's the.
not quite a record, but